Welcome to this All About Naps Masterclass. During this time, I will take you through a tutorial on all things nap related. You will learn how to set yourself up for success for naps, understand the science behind naps, what a good nap looks like, what to do if things don't go as planned, how to tell if your baby is overtired, and also how to lengthen naps so that you can have a well-rested baby during the day. But before I get into this, I want to introduce myself. My name is Lily Horbichuk, and I'm a certified child and infant sleep consultant. I'm also a mom of two babies myself. My son is 2 years old, and my daughter just turned 1. I have been through it all, and naps can be stressful. I started my journey and became interested in sleep when my son was just 4 months old. He had been in the hospital for the first few days of his life, and we had a really rough time with breastfeeding. I felt so guilty about this that I was holding and rocking him to sleep all night long. He was waking every hour throughout the night, and I had become severely sleep deprived. This sleep deprivation, coupled with postpartum anxiety, caused us to hit a breaking point and really reevaluate how we approached sleep. We did a ton of research and implemented some great sleep habits. We worked on settling techniques, and in just 3 days, we were all sleeping 10 to 12 hours at night. It was magical. I had energy. I felt like a completely different person, and I enjoyed my life with my baby. I got out of the house, went to play dates, and my anxiety improved. It really did change my life. This is why I now help hundreds of families with sleep. I help them go from barely functional and not showering to thriving, energetic, and most of all, confident that they don't have to stress about sleep ever again. If you're thinking, is this masterclass for me? You're in the right place if you're a tired parent who wants to learn more about naps and understand why catnapping happens. If you're frustrated with short naps and want to learn how to extend them, if you have an overtired baby because of short naps, if you just need a few minutes to yourself and want to reduce your assistance and your baby's dependence on you during nap time, if you're having feelings of not cut out to be a good parent, which are completely false, by the way, because you don't know what to do to get your baby to sleep, if you're overwhelmed and stressed in the same cycle of sleep. During this time, we're going to cover things to have in place before putting your baby down for a nap, understanding the science behind naps, what naps look like, so what the length should be, what to do if naps don't go as planned, so how to troubleshoot your day, about bedtime, what are biological sleep windows and what do they have to do with naps, what happens when your baby gets overtired, about settling and resettling, and how to resolve short naps. The first thing you want to do is set your baby up for success. Check their environment. Is it conducive to sleep? Is it dark? Do you have blackout blinds? Light inhibits the production of melatonin, the sleep hormone, and darkness helps your baby link their sleep cycles. So you want to make sure their room is completely and pitch dark. This is so that they start producing melatonin that will help them feel sleepy and fall asleep. How is the temperature in the room? Is your baby too warm or too cold? Check the back of their neck. If it's sweaty, then they're too warm. If it's cool to the touch, then they might be too cold. It should be warm. Use your judgment with this. Are they hungry? Offer them a feed, water, or a snack before bed. Now, this is dependent on age. So for toddlers, a protein-rich snack before bed will help. For babies, make sure they're well fed and they have a full feeding. Are there any external noises that can wake your baby? White noise can be really helpful in calming a baby, especially a newborn. They also help to drown out noises that can wake your baby throughout the night. You want white noise to be consistently on throughout sleep so that in the early morning hours of the morning, when they're in their lightest stage of sleep, any noise is not going to wake them. Do you have a relaxing wind down routine to prepare your baby for sleep? Do you cue them for sleep by relaxing them before bed? Doing the same thing in a sequence so that your baby understands through repetition that it is time to sleep. This is a great thing to do and very important in order to relax them. So, I want to talk to you a little bit about the science behind naps. And to do that, I'm going to break it up into age groups because newborn sleep and sleep as a baby gets older changes significantly and is very dependent on age. For newborns, sleep is very sporadic and unorganized. They're really not born with a mature circadian rhythm or biological clock. They rely on food, light, and social cues to let them know when it's time for sleep and help shape their sleep-wake cycles. Newborns are also born hopped up on their mother's melatonin, so they have stored up melatonin in their bodies. This makes them very sleepy. So if you witnessed or have had a very sleepy newborn, it just means that they have a lot of melatonin stored up in their bodies. These melatonin stores start to deplete as a baby gets older, usually around 6 weeks. And they don't start producing their own melatonin until around 8 weeks. Hence why newborns between 6 to 8 weeks are the most unsettled. Up to around 4 months of age, and this time frame is different for every baby, newborns have two distinct cycles or stages of sleep. Usually it's up to 45 minutes long and broken up into light REM sleep and deep NREM sleep or slow wave sleep. Your baby at this time spends a lot of time in REM sleep or light sleep. This is actually a really good thing because it prevents your baby from falling into too long of a deep sleep, which actually prevents the occurrence of SIDS. As you can tell from the graph, your baby will take about 20 minutes to fall into this heavy sleep. If you're going to be assisting your baby during this time, which with newborns you might have to, and want to transfer them, you'll have to wait till they're in a deep sleep. So at least 20 minutes before transferring, or they're going to wake up because they'll still be in a light stage of REM sleep. At around 4 months, sleep cycles mature. This is called the sleep cycle maturation process. It's also often referred to as the 4-month sleep regression. It's really not a regression at all. It's actually a permanent change and maturation in our sleep cycles. It's so normal for babies of this age to take short naps, usually around 45 minutes, and sleep cycles become very pronounced at this time. Naps don't start to get longer until at least 5 months. And this is not because sleep cycles get longer, but because after this time, your baby has the ability to link their sleep cycles. So they will wake up after one 45-minute sleep cycle, check their environment, and put themselves, or need you, to put them back to sleep for another sleep cycle. A long nap is 2 sleep cycles linked together. If your baby wakes up crying after 30 minutes, they may be overtired. It takes a few minutes for a baby's body to start producing stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And it's these hormones that wake their bodies up before they reach the end of a sleep cycle. These hormones can also cause their bodies to not be able to relax and fall asleep. You can encourage them and help them back to sleep, but at nap time, it's harder for them to do. And this is because sleep pressure is lower after a nap. So really, before 4 months of age, I wouldn't not stress too much on getting those really long naps, uh, like the ones that they got when they were newborn. You can help assist this nap to become longer or add in a fourth cat nap at the end of the day. After approximately 5 months, though, a baby is able to link their sleep cycles if they have the ability to go from awake to drowsy to asleep on their own. Again, by linking their sleep cycles, what I mean is that at 45 minutes, they will wake up and then actively put themselves back down to sleep for another 45 minutes. The morning nap is the nap that they will be most sleepy for because of the residual hormones from night sleep. This slide will give you an idea of what naps can look like. So nap one, or the first nap of the day, can be between 30 minutes to an hour. When a baby is really young, before 6 months, I usually let this nap go long. You can have it up to an hour and a half. As your baby gets older, I'll cap this nap. So I start capping it at 1 hour. And by capping, I mean waking them up after 1 hour. Then by 12 months of age, we start to make it shorter, as this is the nap they're going to be dropping at around 15 to 18 months. As you make this nap shorter, you're providing the opportunity for them to have a longer nap too, or lunch nap, which is going to be very important for them as they grow older. You want to leave a good wake window between wake up time and this nap. It's very normal for your baby to seem very tired in the morning, but you really want to make sure you stretch this awake time to the entire wake window. So for example, if your baby is 4 months, their wake window is around 2 hours. So based on a 7 a.m. wake up time, that's a 9 a.m. nap. Always count wake windows from the ideal wake up time, not your actual wake up time. This will help shift your sleep-wake cycles throughout the time. If this nap is too close to your wake-up time, you can start to experience early morning wakings. It really just becomes part of night sleep, and your baby has to get up around 5 or earlier to build that sleep pressure again to go down for nap one, which they think is night sleep. So essentially, your baby thinks that they're sleeping from 7 p.m. to 10 a.m. if they're taking an 8 a.m. nap, especially if that nap is short. So they have to wake up and build that sleep pressure. Our bodies are really smart. So you want to make sure that there's a solid wake window there. It doesn't have to be really long, but it should be long enough to signal to the body that this is nap one. As your baby approaches 8 to 12 months, as I mentioned before, this nap will start to shorten. You're keeping it. It just starts to shorten because you want to get a longer lunch nap, because this is the most important and most restorative nap. Speaking of nap two, it should be between an hour and a half and 2 hours. We usually cap it at 2 hours. You don't want to get too much day sleep, as that's going to affect your nights as well. Starting at 4 to 5 months, this nap should be the one that we focus on and spend energy on extending. By this time, you want to have chosen a settling technique that is right for you and start applying that to this nap. So what I mean by settling technique is any sleep training technique that you choose. From the gentlest and most gradual techniques to any approach that you decide is best for you and your family. Extending this nap is often called the longest hour. We are trying to get baby to extend this nap for up to an hour, meaning that we are continuing to use settling techniques, the settling technique that we have chosen, for up to an hour. So if your baby wakes up 30 minutes into the nap, you try to resettle them so that they can get a longer sleep. By resettling, we are assisting them to sleep and gradually reducing our assistance or giving them the opportunity to settle on their own with checks and parental support. Now, if this nap does not happen at all and your baby does not nap, we want to push bedtime earlier, or we want to shorten the next wake window. We want to start counting wake windows from the end of nap 2, or if they're still taking 3 naps, from nap 3 to bedtime. If your baby is younger than 5 months, you might have to sneak in a 4th cat nap. If they've had short naps during the day. So this is when linking sleep cycles becomes very important, but this is really dependent on whether your baby has the skills to settle themselves independently. And those can emerge anytime after 4 months, sometimes earlier, but we have to give our babies the opportunity to practice these skills. This nap will become the nap your baby will keep until they're done napping at around 3 to 4 years of age. If your baby is under 8 months and has not dropped the 3rd nap, then you will be working off a 3-nap schedule. This 3rd nap is not the easiest to achieve. It's actually a very difficult time of day, and it's not within a biological sleep window, a natural dip in our circadian rhythm that makes you sleepier at certain times of the day. I'll be discussing this a little later on. This nap can be short. This nap can be on the go, and it's actually better achieved on the go. So you can have this nap in a car seat, stroller, carrier, or swing, as long as your baby is supervised. This nap should be between 15 and 30 minutes max. It's really just a relief. It's just really just to relieve some sleep pressure so that you can get your baby to bedtime without them getting overtired. If your baby skips this nap, then bedtime moves up. So you start counting wake windows from nap 2. And you can shorten this wake window by half and put them to bed early. So don't panic if naps don't go as planned. I'm serious. If you panic and you're stressed out, baby can sense that. And a lot of naps go wrong because parents get really frustrated and stressed, which I can understand, and project that energy to their baby. They are like sponges. So just put your baby down for the last wake up time and put them down for either an early bedtime or cut that wake window by 15 or even by half and put them down for the next nap at the next wake window. As mentioned, start counting wake windows from your last wake up time. If by counting wake windows your bedtime is before 5 p.m., then you'll probably just want to do a cat nap for 15 minutes and then start wake windows from that time. Maybe an earlier bedtime, so a shorter wake window than you would normally have. If your bedtime comes out too late, after 7:30 p.m., you can drop the cat nap and do an early bedtime instead of the cat nap. So ideally, your bedtime is between 6 and 7:30 p.m. Speaking of bedtime should be, as I mentioned, no later than 7:30 p.m. If you're counting wake windows and it's later than 7:30, then it's better to have an earlier bedtime and lose the cat nap. You never want to choose a cat nap over an early bedtime, as night sleep is more restorative, and it's really where all the development happens. It's when your baby goes into a deep REM sleep that helps to consolidate their long-term memory, build and solidify skills. Lots and lots of brain development happens in this phase of sleep, and they get the deepest rest to rejuvenate their body, mood, regulate appetite, and nourish their mind. So between the hours of 7 and midnight or 1 a.m., It's very important that they sleep. So you never want to cut out any of that sleep time. If you're going to by wake windows and bedtime is earlier than 5 p.m., then again, you can fit in that cat nap as mentioned, and really only until 5:15 at the latest, and then count your wake windows from there. One misconception is that early bedtime means early wake up, and that's not necessarily true. Obviously, if you're putting your baby down at 5 p.m., it's very hard for them to do a 14 plus hour stretch. So yes, I would say that anytime after 5:30, it does not mean an early bedtime. Sleep begets sleep, and the earlier baby goes down to sleep, the less chance they will have to be overtired, and thus the longer they will sleep. On the contrary, if bedtime is too late, this will cause early morning wakings and even night wakings at the beginning half of the night, interrupting their deep REM sleep. But why is this causing early morning wakings? Well, this has a lot to do with your biological sleep windows. We always try to balance wake windows with biological sleep windows. And believe it or not, these two are not connected in your brain. They don't talk to each other. During a wake window, the hormone adenosine is released and continues to build, creating pressure and an increased urge to sleep. This is called sleep pressure. Now, to release this pressure and remove some of this adenosine, sleep is needed. For babies, it can mean naps multiple times a day. Biological wake windows are dips in our circadian rhythm. These dips happen at certain periods throughout the day, no matter what state our sleep pressure is in. It's independent and runs on our biological clocks and the time of day, which is dictated by food, light, and social cues. These are windows throughout the day when our body is primed for sleep. Our circadian rhythm secretes hormones and regulates our body temperature, which fluctuates depending on the time. During these times, we also see a rise in melatonin, the sleep hormone, and a drop in cortisol and adrenaline, the hormones that keep you awake. Our body temperature also drops at this time to help us sleep. If you can get your naps to fit within a biological sleep window and balance that to fit within your wake window, then where sleep pressure is built up, that is the perfect mix. But that requires balance. This is why when I work with clients, I help them find this balance at every baby's wake windows are different. If we can do that and get them to bed within this prime time without them getting overtired, they will have a better chance of sleeping through the night and not waking up early in the mornings. What happens when your baby gets overtired? If your baby misses their wake window and biological sleep window, they will get overtired. This can happen for a baby in a matter of minutes. For us, it might take an all-nighter to get wired and overtired. But for babies, it can really take less than 10 minutes. This is a physiological response to what the body sees as a threat, fight or flight. There's no release of sleep pressure. If there is no release of sleep pressure, your body's stress response system is activated, releasing hormones that will keep you awake. These hormones are cortisol and adrenaline. This will make it very hard for your baby to calm and relax because their little bodies are wired from these hormones. Overtired babies are the hardest to settle because they have a very hard time relaxing their bodies. They will cry more, they will be fussy, they will be frustrated, and they will wake up every hour or even every 20 to 30 minutes after going to bed. The only way to prevent this is to make sure that we get them down before they get overtired. Short naps are the leading cause of overtired baby, and it's a cycle that perpetuates. So how do we get them to settle to sleep? What self-settling means is that they can go from awake to drowsy to asleep on their own without assistance. This is a skill. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work and practice. If you assist your baby to sleep, they are going to be dependent on you to go back to sleep after they wake from every sleep cycle. If you're okay with that, then that is completely fine. If your baby cannot self settle for naps, try to provide as many opportunities for them to do so and to practice this skill at the beginning of the nap when their drive to sleep is strong, and they'll be more likely to fall asleep easier. Make sure that they can self settle before we start working on resettling, because resettling is a lot harder. Why is resettling harder? Because your baby's sleep drive is lower after they've relieved some of that sleep pressure and after one sleep cycle. It doesn't mean that they don't need the sleep, but it's a lot harder to get back to sleep. But it can be done, and babies do it all the time. How to resolve short naps. So, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you conquer night sleep first. You want to make sure that your baby is sleeping long stretches at night. And what I mean by a full night's sleep is that they're still waking up after every sleep cycle or partially waking, checking their environment, and then putting themselves back to sleep independently. Night sleep is easier to achieve, believe it or not, and parents have more success with it because there's a lot more sleep pressure, making the drive to sleep very high at night. Now, you have to choose the best sleep training technique for you and your family and that you're comfortable with. You need to make sure that it aligns with your parenting philosophy, how fast you want it to take, and how committed you are. There are many proven techniques that range from very gradual to baby sleeping in 2 or 3 nights. I can't make that decision for you, but I can provide you with all of the information and a customized plan, depending on what your preferences are. It's up to you to choose the best one, but I can help guide you to the finish line once you do. From a very young age, you can start offering opportunities for babies to start settling on their own. However, babies under 4 months might still need some assistance. Some babies, up to 5 months, are not developmentally ready to master this skill yet. So you might have to assist them and then gradually decrease your assistance as they get older. Every baby is different. Some are ready at 8 weeks, some are ready at 4 or 5 months. Now, this does not mean that this always has to involve crying. All you're doing before 4 months is just capturing opportunities for your baby to practice while you are there so that they can start practicing this skill. However, we don't expect them to really master this skill until later on. But you want to set them up for success, and you want to do that by finding those sweet spot wake windows. If your baby is undertired, your naps are going to be short, one sleep cycle, because they really don't have enough of that sleep pressure to carry them through to link to the next sleep cycle. And they just won't be tired enough after one sleep cycle to go into another sleep cycle. They'll have to work that much harder. Now, if they're overtired, their little bodies will wake them up and they will be wired, and this will cause them to not be able to fall asleep or stay asleep. And you'll also have short naps. Now, if you need any extra help, please don't hesitate to reach out. I work with clients all the time and I walk them through these process and set them up for success. I help them go through all the options, choosing a settling technique that is right for them, showing them exactly how to implement it, and coaching them every step of the way. Now, this is the difference between success the first time and done, or many failed attempts without guidance and the push to get you there. So I really hope this gave you some useful information about why naps happen and how to start working on your naps. Once you decide on a settling technique, then we can start on the rest. And really settling is the last piece of the puzzle. So please book a free call with me. We'll get to know each other. I'd love to hear how you're doing and what challenges you're facing and put together something that is very customized for you. You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Lil Baby Sleep on Instagram and Lil Baby Sleep Consulting on Facebook. I also have a free group on Facebook, so you can look me up at Lil Baby Sleep. Let's keep in touch, and thank you for joining me in this webinar, and hope to talk to you soon.